In this session, we're going to discuss ad networks part 9, challenges and solution. I have already explained types of ad inventory, difference between premium and remnant, reasons behind remnant inventory, what publisher do with remnant inventory, introduction to ad networks, how players use ad networks in sellers or buyers point of view, how does ad network works. So these are the topics we covered in our previous topics. In this video, what I am going to explain is ratio of demand and supply with examples and applying the same concept to ad networks, how the relationship works with other ad networks, and volume exchange between ad networks, commission between the ad networks, and problem faced in the process. Till yesterday, we have discussed ad networks are connected to each other as well as how large players and small players play their role in the ecosystem. I'm adding few more points to it. For ad networks, what if supply side business and buyer side business are not grown unequally? I mean to say, supply side business and buyer side business are grown unequally in the sense there is an imbalance between the supply and as well as a buy and demand. Or supply side business is high and buyer side business is low. So this thing will happen, or you may have experienced this in real time, right? I mean to say, for example, if there is a farmer, there is a more number of products to purchase, but there is a less demand from the people. Definitely, there is an imbalance. Getting my point?
Yes.
Yeah. So we are in this complete session. What I'm trying to explain is how exactly this thing will work and what are the problems will be faced by the player, and we shall take with an example. So
Okay.
understand with a real-time examples. We already discussed the farmers are the one who produces apples and consumers are the one who purchase the apples. So in between them, there exists one player. He is nothing but a mediator, right?
Yes.
Now let's take two cases. In first case, let's assume there is a mediator who buys exceed food items and get less consumers for that. Initially, he buys food items. That's fine. Food items in the sense he gets a supply. Okay. And then when he come out and sell it to the consumers, unfortunately, he get less number of consumers to buy those food items. There are more sellers and less buyers, right?
Yes.
Here you can see supply is more and demand is less. So here sellers are more and buyers are less. What happens in this case one is item goes as waste if unsold. Items in the sense here food items, or we can relate it to the product. Product goes as waste if unsold. Since product lifespan ends as it expires. Every product has its own lifespan, right? So once lifespan is over, it expires. Now let's take case 2. In this case 2, same mediator, what happened is he got less supply of food items, and unfortunately for that supply, he got more consumers. In this case too, there are less supply sellers and more buyers. What we can say is supply is less and demand is more, right?
Yes.
Or you might have seen this in the real time, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So what happens in this case? Just look at here and explain.
Supply important. Supply is important to maintain.
Yeah. So here what happens is scarcity of food for consumers will happen, right?
Yeah.
So consumers who are looking for the product, since there is less supply, scarcity will happen. So
Okay,
finally,
I'll give you an example for this.
okay,
Previous days, there is no need to pay for a water. Nowadays, we are paying for water because it is becoming less, right? That is why the demand is increased.
yeah, in cities, that's
Yes.
a good example. Yes, correct. So previously there was enough supply, enough groundwater. Everyone have used to get enough drinking water or whatever the regular uses. Getting fine, good example. So finally, in any marketplace, The ratio of demand and supply should be maintained.
Okay.
Loss may be on both the sides because when demand is more, supply is less, scarcity will happen, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
supplier also feels like he unable to make more money because of having less supply since there is more demand. On the other end, let's assume supply is more and demand is less. What happens for the supply is the item goes as waste.
Yes.
Now, let's apply the same concept for ad networks. Ad networks in the ecosystem, we have covered this in the earlier topics, how exactly they
Yeah.
work. Let's revise this topic. So, what ad networks does? Purchase inventory from publishers or sellers and sell it to the advertisers or buyers and earns commission from both, right? Let's assume there is a case where supply exceeds the demand. How we can assume that? Let's see with an example. Okay, let's take I have own website learnersearchglobal.com. For that, there are 5 million impressions are available. So total impressions are 5 million impressions that I'm ready to sell. Okay, so supply is 5 million impressions and demand, when it comes to demand, there let's assume there are two advertisers, one McD and Nike advertisers, who are willing to purchase 1 million impressions each.
Okay.
So in this case, what happened? What's your observation on this?
So actually, the publisher is having 5 million impressions available to sell, but they're
Okay,
only two, I mean, two companies or whatever it is. They have only one, like, they want to buy only one impression, 1 million impressions, and Nike wants to buy 1 million impressions. So that supply person will get lost, right? Because there is 3 million
exactly.
impressions.
Yes, correct. So what I mean here is, even though there are 5 million impressions are ready to supply from the from the supplier end, from the demand side, there are only 2 million impressions who are ready to buy. So 5
Yes,
million and 2 million. So totally 3 million impressions will be goes as waste.
yes,
So 3 million impressions which are unsold, we can say.
remnant.
So in this case, what happened is supply exceeds the demand. Getting my point?
Oh, yes.
Now,
Uh, Ram, actually, you're saying this happens in remnant also.
remnant,
Okay.
the whatever the
Now
leftover
we
is
are,
the unsold or remnant.
no, no, I'm asking you now. You're particularly explaining about remnant or premium and remnant, both.
I'm explaining. Okay, good question. Let's assume this is the overall total inventory. We get both
Okay.
premium and remnant, right? Now let's assume
Yes.
these 5 million impressions are total available inventory.
Okay.
For this total available inventory, let's assume only
Okay.
2 million got sold and these are the premium one.
Okay.
Remaining 3 million impressions are unsold.
So we'll
Okay,
go for ad networks and we'll do it
purchase it.
remaining
Yeah,
three.
exactly. So
Okay.
that's what I'm trying to explain here. Good question. Now let's see another one. Demand exceeds the supply. How we can explain is, for the same 5 million impressions, let's assume in the next month. Okay, in the last month that happened, let's assume this happens in the next month. There are 5 million. For the same 5 million impression from the supplier, the demand is more than 5 million impressions here. Let's assume there are four advertisers here. One is one is demanding 5 million, other one is demanding 5 million, 2 million and 2 million. Overall, there are 14 million. Now, can you see my screen?
Yes. Now I can see.
Okay.
By seeing this, actually the publisher is having 5 million impressions available with him. But
Yeah.
right here we have four parties, right? Four parties. One needed 5 million impressions, one more is needing 5 million impressions, 2 million, 2 million. That means 14 million. But we have
Yes.
only five, right? So nine are remaining. We can't take 9 million impressions to a deal. Only 5 million is there with us.
Since there is limited inventory with us, even though there is a more demand, we can't create new one and supply immediately. We have to take
Yes.
some time. supply exceeds the demand, there are 5 million impressions available on the supply side, and on the demand side there are only 2 million impressions. What happened here is there is a supply which is exceeding the demand. That means still there are 3 million impressions left over and become unsold. Now in this case, when demand exceeds the supply in the sense, for the same 5 million impressions, let's assume there are there are advertisers who are willing to purchase, but the demand is more when compared to supply. So each one is demanding, but overall, when we take, it is more than 5 million impressions because demand has 14 million and supply has 5 million. So we can say demand exceeded the supply, right? So 14 minus 5 is 9 million impressions. So 9 million impressions are remnant. Getting my point? And what? So there is no remnant inventory in this case. Ad networks have to balance the demand and supply here. Supply exceeds the demand. In some cases, demand exceeds the supply. In both the cases, what ad networks have to do is they have to balance the both demand and supply. Getting my point? Every impression has very short lifespan, that is milliseconds. So they have to take the decisions prior to that and set up accordingly so that no impression goes as waste. And ad networks try to sell every impressions to avoid wastage. To balance both demand and supply, what ad networks do is they make a relationship with other ad networks. Okay, let's see how they make it. Let's take a real-time example and understand. Please look at the picture and let me know your observations.
Okay, actually, we are taking examples like apples. So we have 1,000 apples with us. We sold 900. Remaining 100 we didn't sold it. And
Yeah,
remnant actually.
yes, correct. So we are taking in terms of quantity. Out of 1,000 apples, 900 are sold, and remaining at the end of the day, there are 100 apples remain. Okay, now here in this slide, you can see there is a supplier. Okay, supplier in the sense farmer. The same farmer for the remnant, what are the leftover apples? Let's take n equal to 100. These are the leftover apples. Okay, what he does is he can reach
Yes.
out to the ad networks. Once again, I
Okay.
repeat, farmers for the leftover apples can reach out to some mediator one.
Okay.
In this case, let's assume there is a mediator one who takes those leftover apples from the farmer.
Okay.
Now, this mediator, what he does, he sell, he try to get the consumers for those 100 apples, but unfortunately, he sold only 60 out of 100.
Okay.
How many apples are remain now?
40.
Exactly.
40 are
So
remnant.
40 again became remnant. Now, if he
We'll
don't
go to
sold
the
it,
second.
yes, correct. So if you don't
Okay.
sell 40 apple, it goes as a waste. So demand side requirement is 60 only. Mediator one could not sell remaining apples. Okay. In this case, he could not sell remaining 40 apples. Now what he does, he can reach out to the other mediator. So mediator one makes a relationship with new one. That new one is mediator two. So the mediator two out of 40 apples, there is a demand for only 20 apples. Let's assume out of 40, there is only 20 apples. There is a demand for only 20 apples. Okay.
Yes.
Even for mediator
Then
also they
remaining
have supply
20
and demand, right? Sorry,
okay.
Sima.
Then remaining 20 are remnant now. He can sell only
Exactly.
20, right?
Yeah. What happened in this case? Mediator two, even mediator two have a supplier as well as demand. Supply and demand,
Yeah.
even they have that. So out of 40, he can able to sell only 20.
Okay.
Now
He'll
20
go to
were
the third.
unsold. So what he does exactly, remaining at 20, mediator 2 could not sell remaining 20 apples, and what he does is he can go to the 20 other mediator 3. So what happened with this? He can able to sell remaining 20 apples.
Yeah.
With this, all 100 apples were sold. That means there is no wastage happened for the apples,
Yes,
right?
yes,
For the
right.
product, all apples are sold,
Yes.
and finally there is no wastage in the ecosystem. Okay, whatever the products we got from the supplier initially, so that all the products got sold. So that means here the business happened. So all apples were sold. To sell all the apples produced by the farmer, there exist lot of mediators in the chain, also time consuming. So we can say
Okay.
all these kind of chain process as daisy chain. It's a daisy chain topology. So one is connected to the other. One is sender, another one is receiver. Likewise, again a new one becomes a sender, other one becomes a receiver in the same chain. Likewise, this will continue. We call it as a daisy chain topology. So let's take an example in terms of rate. We have discussed in terms of quantity. Let's take in terms of rate how exactly it can happen. Not perfectly 100% it will happen in the same way, but this is one of the thing may happen. Let's look into that. Let's assume price of each apple is $2. Okay. For unsold apples, farmer is ready to sell at less price. Farmer is ready to sell at less price. Assume $1 for each apple. So price of each apple is $2, and he's selling for each one at 50% of the rate. Okay, he's selling for $1 only now for unsold one. For those unsold apples, he's selling at $1 for the mediator one.
Okay.
What mediator does is, since he want to earn commission from the product he purchased, what he does, he adds some value to that, and in this case, let's 1.1. 1 plus 0.1, and it is 1.1 here. Is it clear?
Okay. Yes.
Now,
The same thing what you explained in ad networks, right?
yes, correct. In previous sessions,
When he
we
said,
have, yeah, in previous classes, we have discussed on this.
yes.
With the 1.1 rate for that apple, he sell it to the demand whatever he has. On the consumer's end, what happened is they're willing to pay for that product for the maximum value of 1.2. That means they're willing to pay till 1.2 for the product,
Okay.
for the apple. So what happens in this case is the product gets sold, right?
Okay.
If he gets any higher price for the product, he's not ready to buy. If he gets any higher price for the product, he's not ready to buy. In the sense, the consumer is paying willing to pay maximum of 1.2. What if he gets 1.3? It gets unsold because he has only 1.2 in his pocket. If you say higher
Yes.
rate, he definitely drop it, right?
He
So
has to buy it.
correct. Demand side price is 1.2 greater than 1.1. So apples are sold. Supplier one's apple. This
Yes.
first supplier apple is sold to consumer one, first consumer of the same mediator.
Yes.
Supplier one of mediator one is sold to consumer of the same mediator. So in this process, ad network gets 0.1 commission. So demand
Okay.
side gets less than the maximum value that he wants to buy.
Okay.
So demand side gets less than maximum value. So in the demand side, what happened is whatever they fixed for how much they want to purchase, they're getting less than what actually they're willing to buy. So definitely product gets sold only. What happened here?
He's getting more. Actually, the maximum value is 0.9, right?
Okay,
Uh, okay. He's selling for 1.1. Then this is unsold, right? They'll become unsold.
exactly. So let's assume they're willing to buy at 0.9.
0.9.
Yeah, equal less than or equal to 0.9. They're not willing to pay. Someone sell it for higher price. Okay. Now what happened in
Okay.
this case? He's selling for the same rate only, 1.1 only. So whatever the demand he's getting, the value at that moment is 0.9. Since the supply rate is more than the demand one, so consumer don't purchase.
Definitely, we'll go for the second mediator and check the another demand.
Correct, correct. So it becomes unsold. So in this case,
Yes.
selling price 1.1 is greater than the demand side. So there is a more chance that more chance in the sense the consumers drop the deal. And finally, what happens? It becomes unsold, and this mediator one makes a new relationship with the same price, sells at
Okay.
1.1. Making sense?
Yes.
Now, this mediator 2, what he does is he takes 1.1 as rate, and he to add some commission to that, and he tries to get the demand from their network. So mediator 2 have their own network like supply and demand, right? So after adding the commission, so the rate became 1.2 now. So
Okay.
he submit the price to the demand, whatever the demand he has, and ask who are ready to purchase this product which is having 1.2. He declares the value. He's just
Okay.
announcing, he's just saying to everyone. Let's assume there are 100 people who are on the demand. He's just saying this product has 1.2. Please let me know who are willing to buy. Is 0.8, which is less than this. Obviously, it gets unsold, right? No advertiser is ready to buy. Getting my point?
Yes.
Now, whatever we are discussing here, all the rates, so this is just for our understanding purpose. Not exactly this thing will
Yeah.
happen, but this one of the
Okay.
way we can assume these are the things it goes in this way. Okay, so
Okay.
rate may lower also. Mediator is willing to purchase at willing to sell at 0.9 now. Let's assume that. Okay,
Then
so
he'll go with
because
the first demand only, right?
yeah, of course, that is another cases. We are running at ideal situation.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
I'm trying to explain here is ideal situation. What if this happens? How the things will go? By understanding this, we can connect to the other topics also. Okay. Mediator 2 is willing to sell at 1.2. Among the all the demand what he has, only the maximum CPM value is 0.8. Seema, here I will remove the CPM part.
Okay.
Okay, don't take it CPM. Just assume that there is a $0.8. Now,
Okay.
there is no since there is no advertiser to buy, he reach out to the mediator 3.
Okay.
Likewise, finally, whatever the demand for the mediator 3, they have only 1.5, right, which is maximum value. So which is less than, which is more than the supply rate. Definitely, he will try to purchase that. So since demand price is high and supply price is less, so Apple is sold here.
Yes.
What's your observation here?
Right here.
Yes,
All the apples are sold, right? Like
yes.
his
All the
aim is
apples
to
are
sell
sold. Main thing here you should observe is there is more commissions added in
in
the
the
chain.
finance. Okay, okay.
Commissions added in the chain. So when there is a
Yeah.
multiple chain process, definitely the rate goes high. So tomatoes are produced by the farmers for 1 rupee. Finally, it comes to the market with 10 rupees per kg. What
Yeah.
happened? There is a mediator exist, right? The same concept, not exactly the
Okay.
same process. Okay. So all apples are sold. To sell all the apples produced by the farmer, there exist a lot of mediators in the chain, also time consuming. Okay. Till here you understood,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, it's clear.
Hi everyone. In the previous sessions, I have covered our networks topic. In that, how the daisy chain works in the real time. So this is an example. Whatever I'm showing in this slide, you can take it as example of daisy chain that happens in the real time, explaining how supply and demand are connected to the mediator and how mediator are connected to the mediator 2 and 3, etc. Let's apply same concept for ad networks. Let's take ad network 1 is connected to the publisher on one side and advertisers on the other side, as you can see in the screen. If any impression is available from publisher end of ad network 1, what he does is, and he buys the impression and he sell it to the advertisers of the same network, right?
Yes.
Now, ad network 1, what he does, if he can able to find the advertisers, then he can sell it. Otherwise, what he can do is he can sell it to the ad network 2. Okay, so what he will do, he can make a relationship with ad network 2 or another ad network, and he tries to sell that impression. Okay, now when the impression is sold to ad network, so this ad network, new ad network is ad network 2 here. This ad network 2 also, what he does, he will try to get advertisers, okay, in his network. If he can able to sell, the impression gets sold. Otherwise, still it is unsold position, right?
Yes.
What ad network want to do is they take the commission already from the for selling. When it is sell to ad network 2, again ad network 2 also adds a commission here. Likewise, for this unsold impression which is not sold here, he reach out to the for this unsold impression he reach out to the ad network 3 here. I mean, this ad network 2 makes new relationship with ad network 3. Since ad network 3 also has demand and supply. So demand is from advertisers and supply is from publishers. So since the impression is available, he reach out to the advertisers here, right?
Yes.
Now, this advertiser check whether the impression he received is matching what are the requirement he has. Again, he will check. If he accepts, that's fine. Otherwise, again, ad network 3 will redirect to the ad network 4. Likewise, the chain continues until the impression gets sold. Okay, so this is how the daisy chain works for ad networks. Did you understand the concept?
Yes.
Great. As shown here, chain continue until transaction happens in the connected networks. Okay, here the impression keep on sending to one to another. Finally, impression gets sold, right? So in this way, whatever the impression is unsold in any of the part of the network, okay, it tries to sell to another networks and makes business in. Okay, that's great. And one more point to add here. So whatever the relations you see, these all relations are already been set up. They make some technical setup prior to the ad request. Okay,
Like
so
like ad servers will go for the third party in the same way, right?
yes, correct. So here, what the ad networks and ad network, all the other relations, how they make is they share some tags kind of thing. So what
Okay.
they do, they initially they set up something, okay, in such a way that whenever, for example, ad network 3, how it is linked to ad network 1 in the sense, ad network 1 will make a relation with ad network 2 already, be prior to the ad request comes.
Okay.
Okay, so they keep everything ready. So all these are connected to one another. So whenever an impression is available, the chain continues. So this annotator 5 is connected to the annotator 4. So this setup is already done, like sharing the tags or some kind of thing. So how the it's all about communication, right? How annotator 4 and annotator 5 communicate because of some link should exist between them. That link is nothing but the tag, and I will explain that later. Okay, just understand this setup is already done so that whenever request is available, it keep on passing to one another until it gets sold.
Okay.
Fine. Now
Okay.
let's assume publisher's overall ad inventory is 500k impressions. Okay, so 500k impressions are available for a publisher like Times of India. Let's take an example. Okay, so overall ad inventory in the sense it is a combination of both premium and remnant. Okay, so totally 500k impressions is available and able to supply from the publisher. Okay, out of that, let's assume total unsold is 100k impressions. Out of 500k, 100k impressions are unsold. Did you understand this?
Yes.
That means what are the sold impressions here? How
400.
many?
400.
400k impressions are sold
400
already.
we have.
That means yeah. So it is already sold in the premium. So they are not worried about that, and they worried only about unsold inventory of 100k impressions. Okay. Now keep that in mind, and let's check. So in terms of quantity, how ad networks works, let us see here. In the previous slides, I have shown you for a single impression how the chain continues, right? So
Yes.
likewise, if multiple impressions, if the chain continues, finally how it looks, finally how the quantity of inventory around the system go around the system and makes a business. Getting my point? So let's see
Yes.
one by one. We shall go in detail, one step by step, and try to explain from your end. I will correct it. Okay. So what you observed here in this slide?
Publisher is having 100K impressions,
What are those 100K impressions?
ad inventory.
This is example of previous one.
Okay, unsold one, right?
Exactly. Okay. Keep that in your mind. Okay. Proceed with the concept. What happened here? Tell me.
He reached to the first ad network actually.
Ad network one. So
Yes,
reach out to ad network to sell his unsold inventory. That means
yes.
publisher will try to sell whatever the leftover impressions or unsold impression available, and he try to reach out to some ad network. Okay. With the help of ad networks, he making the business for his unsold inventory. Okay. First one impression, two impression. Likewise, he sold 100K impressions. Okay.
Okay.
Now what happened here?
Now advertisers need only 60K. Okay, sorry. 60K are sold to the advertisers.
Okay, correct. So I will frame in a
Then
different way.
you have 40K impressions with you again.
Exactly. Okay, fine. To just add to that point, out of 100K impressions, ad network could sell only 60K impressions to their demand in their network. Making
Okay.
sense?
Yes.
I repeat. So whatever the 100K impressions purchased from the seller side, from publishers, okay, it can able to sell only 60K impressions. Let's assume. So out of 100K impressions, only 60K are required from the demand side. So so finally he could able to sell only 60K. Till here it's fine, right?
Yes.
Good. Now whatever the unsold is 40K
Yes.
from ad network one out of 100K.
He'll reach to.
So these 40K impressions, what happened here? Tell me.
He is reaching to another ad network too.
Okay.
Ad network one is reaching to ad network two to sell his 40K impressions.
Yes. Unsold from unsold inventory of ad network one, right?
Yes. Yes.
Now just read this.
Okay, ADN1 makes relationship with new one. In this case, ADN1 is seller, ADN2 is buyer.
Exactly. What is ADN in the sense? Ad network.
Ad network.
So animator one is a seller here. Now what happened when animator one is selling impression, it becomes seller and animator two is a buyer. Making sense?
Yes. Again,
Good.
AD1 is supplier, AD2 is demand.
Perfect. Now what happened here?
Now,
Just read it.
AD2.
Animator two has multiple buyers and sellers. Okay.
Okay.
Animator two has already multiple buyers and sellers. So how what do you explain till now?
Okay.
So what happened?
Now, ad network 2 is having buyers and sellers again. In that case, ad network 2 is selling only 20K impressions to advertiser.
Yeah.
For
Among
demand, he is selling only 20K impressions.
they have demand only for 20K. They have the demand of our network to have the demand only for 20K impressions out of 40K impressions, which can able to supply from the ad network to only 20K impressions are available from their own demand. We can put in that way. Okay.
Okay.
Among available, assume demand is only for 20K impressions. So
Okay.
here,
Again, unsold is 20K.
perfect. Remaining impressions are 20K. Now, what happened here?
He's reaching to another ad network 3 to sell
Why?
his 20
Why he is
impressions.
reaching out to ad network?
Unsold inventory. He's having unsold inventory, 20K
Yes.
impressions.
Yes. So if you don't sell it because of some reasons he could not sell or did not sell that, what happens
It
is,
makes loss. It makes
yeah,
loss.
it becomes loss for him, definitely, right? To make something out of whatever the impressions available, so he's reaching out to ad network three, making a new relationship. Now, what
Yes.
happened here?
Again, he's having new suppliers and demanders.
Yeah, ad network three in the sense ad network obviously have their own supply and demand. So what
Okay, now,
happened for ad network
okay,
3?
now ad network 3 can sold only 10K impressions because demand needs only 10K impressions.
Is perfect. So here unsold is
Again,
10K.
unsold 10K.
So
Yes,
likewise, the chain continues till all impressions from their respective network impressions are sold.
yes.
Till all impressions from their respective network. Respective in the sense, ad network 2's respective impressions are 40K. Ad network ad network 3's respective impressions are 20K. Okay. Now to sell this unsold 10K, what he does, tell me what happened here?
He'll have a daisy chain again, like
Yeah.
continuing till he sells, right?
Yeah. So ad network 3 reached out to ad network 4. This
And network 5,
again,
6.
exactly. So because of some unsold, again reached out to ad network 5 and till he reaches nth. Likewise, for all 100K impressions available from by the publisher, I mean those are the unsold inventory. Did the business in this way. Okay.
Uh,
So
Ram, can
likewise,
I ask you a doubt,
yeah,
Ram?
yes,
No, actually, this whole process is going on, right? Till then, the
yes,
ad inventory will be empty, right?
yes, correct. This should
Then we
happen in
may.
milliseconds.
Okay, fine, fine.
Yeah, there involves some problems, and I'll give a explanation on that. What are
Okay.
the problems they face? And they are helpful, obviously. See, you're able to sell all the impressions here, right?
Yes.
In a positive way, if you think all the impressions which are available from the publisher end or supply end is sold to someone somehow to everyone. Okay, got this point, right?
Yes, Ram.
So can connect nth player on the other end to when inventory need to sell. Okay, so one of the example of how transaction may happen. So let's take another one. Till now we discussed about the volume, how the volume of inventory sold.
Increase.
Likewise, for a single impression, it happened. Second happened. Third, likewise, when 100 impressions are sold via network, this is how it looks.
Okay.
I'm not saying this exactly it works. This is one of the way the
Example.
ad networks in Daisy ad networks in the Daisy chain the business happens. I will take another example by taking how the transaction happens. Let's
Okay.
assume premium price is $2 on overall. Overall, in the sense here, I mean to say they like to sell at $2 for premium. Okay. For
Okay.
unsold, whatever the leftover, publisher is ready to sell at less inventory, less price. Sorry.
Okay.
I repeat, for unsold inventory, publisher is ready to sell at less price. Let's assume CPM equal to $1.
Yeah.
Step by step, I will show in the slide. Try to explain that. If there is anything to be corrected, I will do. But please try so that you can get the
Um,
concept.
okay. What happened is he already sold premium at $2, right?
Okay.
Right here, publisher is going on like ad in. He's going to a different ad networks if it is not sold. For unsold one, he's going for different networks, right? Then it is
Yeah.
increasing. Only I think premium prices too, but the unsold one only will be more, I guess. Like he's taking a
No.
number of commissions, right? Like different people,
Okay.
networks are taking commissions from one on
Yes,
one,
yes.
right?
Premium is for $2, but for unsold inventory, it can able to reach more than two, more than premium
Yeah.
price. Yeah,
Yes.
that may happen. That may happen. But
Okay.
let's assume initially they're starting with the $1 and how he goes to higher price and how he can able to understand the process.
Okay.
Okay, so that thing may happen, but it doesn't mean that always it is in the same way. So just take it as an example only. Don't think it always happens in the same way. Okay. Okay, let's continue and I will give the explanation to your question. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, tell me here, publisher is selling for unsold inventory, publisher is willing to sell at $1 to ad network
Yes.
one. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what you observed here?
Actually, publisher is selling at $1 for ad inventory.
Okay.
Ad network, sorry, for ad
Yeah.
network. Ad network is selling unsold inventory at $1.1 to advertisers.
Perfect. Perfect. Why 1.1 came into picture
He
here?
actually he's supplying, right? For that he's taking some amount like commission.
Exactly. So ad network works on the commission basis, right? So
Yes.
he took some commission and in this case he added zero point 0.1 as a commission.
Yes.
Okay. So whatever you see here, $1 or 1.1, these are on CPM basis. Okay.
Okay.
So CPM in the sense for 1,000 impressions, he is charging $1. One impression in the sense 1/1,000. Getting my point? If one impression is transacted here, in the sense he should add 1/1,000 and he pays the same to the ad network one. Okay, think in that way. So beyond that, it
Okay.
happens. But overall, just for our understanding, let's take $1 CPM. With $1 of CPM price, he is selling with $1 CPM price. Okay, he added some commission of 0.1. He sold the same inventory at $1.1 of CPM.
Okay.
So he sold the ad inventory at $1.1 CPM.
Okay.
Now, what you observed here?
Now max CPM is $1.2.
What it says here?
Max price is max value that buyers is ready to buy.
That means if what exactly the max CPM
Is
in your point of
1.2.
view? In your point of
That
view,
is
what?
advertisers what we say, uh, on the basis of advertisers they'll buy even it is at $1.2.
Okay, I will frame that sentence here. Maximum
Okay.
CPM in the sense advertisers are willing to pay up to 1.2, and if there is any price more than that, he will not pay. I mean, will
Okay.
not pay in the sense he's not ready to pay that.
Okay.
Okay, he also sets that value in the system in such a way that it won't accept more than that. Okay, so we will discuss on that later, but for now, just for our understanding purpose, let's assume the maximum CPM set by the advertisers. I mean, whatever the advertisers they have, for one of the advertisers, the maximum value is 1.2. Okay,
Okay.
so what happened here? Just
Demand
read
size
all
price.
these points and explain.
Okay. If he gets any higher price for this product, he's not ready to buy. It means the advertiser is not ready to buy if the price is one higher than $1.2.
Perfect.
Okay, then demand size price is $1.2 lesser than greater
Greater
than,
than.
yes, greater than $1.1.
Okay, now impression is sold. So demand
Yes.
price is greater than selling price. Okay, that
Yes.
means he's willing to pay. So in this case, what happened? Impression is sold, right?
Yes.
I'm willing to pay $10 for the product you're going to say, Seema. Okay. So
Yes.
what you said, you are selling at $9 only. So definitely there is a 100% chance of taking that, right?
Why? Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I have $10 in my pocket. I'm ready to buy because I have the money for that. I'm willing to pay for that. Okay. Now, what happened next?
Impression from publisher is filled and received revenue.
Okay. So whatever the impression is available, it got filled, the transaction happened, and ad is served on the publisher website or ad slot. Okay.
Yes.
Now, next.
Ad network gets 0.1 commission. Now ad network is getting 0.1 commission from advertisers
Yeah.
as they buy. Then advertisers on demands get less than maximum value. Actually, advertisers thought it is around. He was ready to pay $1.2, but he got
Perfect.
it $1.1 only.
Okay.
So
Perfect.
he's saving, right? Actually.
Yes, he's saving some amount of money. That's good thing. So good observation. One thing I want to explain here is for ad networks, zero point 0.1 is not always they follow the same figure. Okay. Let's take some percentage, 5%, 10% commission. In that way it works. Okay. 0 point
Okay.
for just for your understanding purpose.
Yes. Yes.
Now what happened next?
So ad gets served from advertisers to publishers via ad network. Okay. Via ad network, the advertisers are serving the ad to publishers so that publishers can place it in ad slot.
Yeah, correct. So it got already served. So the technically ad serving happens in a different way. I will explain it later. For now, let's assume by with the help of ad networks only, the advertisements of this advertiser got served on the publisher website.
Okay.
Now,
Selling price $1.1 is greater than demand side dollar $0.9.
okay.
Okay.
So
Actually,
I
what
will.
happened is now advertisers are ready to pay only $0.9 dollars, but ad networks are demanding $1.1 dollars.
I mean, willing to pay, okay. I will frame here.
They are not
And
willing to pay now.
yeah, ad network one is ready to sell for 1.1, and on the other end, advertisers what are the advertisers available here? They are only willing to pay 0.9 up to 0.9. Okay,
Yes.
that's the reason selling price is greater than demand side. What happened? No other advertisers are available to buy that impressions. Here,
Yes.
whatever it says is none of the advertisers of ad network one are willing to buy that impression at that price. If not sold, impression goes as waste, right? So
Yes.
it becomes
Loss.
obviously lost in this case.
Yes. Mediator one makes a new relationship. It means he'll go for the new relationship, nothing but ad network too.
Exactly. What at the same price, he is going with the same price.
Okay, he's going with the same price. Yes.
Yes,
Now ad network two is having supply and demand again.
correct. So you can say ad network obviously have a supply and demand only. Whenever he
Okay.
takes mediator to adds his commission here. So whenever this request comes, definitely he add some commission to that. In a this setup in such a way that the commission is added and submit the price with 1.2 in his network demand side. So network demand in the
Rahul,
sense advertisers.
here the problem is only publisher, right? With publisher because he is selling, and we are checking only for the buyers from publisher side,
Yes.
not from advertiser side. So now publisher is not much important for advert network too for right now. For in this case, this is
In this
not much.
case, yeah, publisher is not important in the sense, yeah, that is also I can accept, but we cannot
Just
say
simply
completely.
given view, you're just giving us publishers and advertisers, or else it is much needed.
Yeah, publishers only. See, publishers are the one who sells the impressions. So
Yes.
whatever the request he gets, for that request he is trying to fulfill. That's it. Whether who are the publisher, it is also mandatory only. If he gets a publisher information, that's pretty much helpful. If you don't get, it is not helpful. Somewhat helpful. So that he can inform to the advertiser saying that this is from Times of India, this is from different website. So he can convey the same to advertisers technically.
Okay, so you mean in the second case, like, see, from
Hmm.
first case, he's having like he want to sell his impressions at $1, first
Yes.
publisher. If he
Yes.
goes to second network, again, if
Yes.
second publisher is having something, he can collect the both and go to the net advertisers. You mean?
Both in the
No.
sense which information?
No, actually, I just want to ask you.
Yeah.
In first case, we are going with the ad network is connected to publisher right here, saying that
Yes.
he's having impressions at $1.
Yes.
Okay, he have gone to advertisers one saying that I will sell ad inventory at $1.1. It is
Okay.
not acceptable. In that case, we have gone to ad
And
network
network
two.
two. Correct.
In that, you just said publishers and advertisers, right?
Yes.
A- Actually, ad networks in the sense we'll have publishers and advertisers.
Of course.
Yeah, but here we are just checking only for advertisers, right?
Okay. Okay.
Now,
Got it.
this,
Advertisers only
this
we are checking. Hmm.
yes. Now publishers is not required, right?
Yes, correct. Okay, you should have said publishers of ad network is not required.
Okay.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, understood. Good question. Yeah, not required because see, ad network 2 the work of ad network 2 is only
To
to
check
fulfill the
advertisers.
no, for now it is impression is available, that's why he's checking with the advertiser. if
Yes, yes,
if ad is required, okay, ad is required, so he ad inventory is required, he will check with the publisher.
yes,
Let's
yes.
assume an advertiser of ad network 1 require an inventory put his advertisement. So what he does, he reach out to ad network 2 and ask if any impression is available. So definitely he reach out to the publisher.
Okay. In
Okay.
this case, for advertiser here in ad network one, if advertiser needs something, he'll go for ad network two publisher and he'll ask if it is possible, right? You mean?
Yes, 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 correct. In case ad network
May
one's
happen.
supplier could not fill only, he will go to ad network 2.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, good question. So yeah, so we are at here. Mediated 2, mediated 2 in the sense ad network 2.
Yes.
Adds commission here, submit the price with 1.2 in his network. So he adds some commission in his network. What he says is, okay, give me the ad at 1.2 CPM.
But
Or
he's not willing to buy now because
yeah,
he his demand is $0.8 only.
exactly. So on the other end, demand side has the maximum value of 0.8.
Yes.
So since no advertiser is ready to buy, advertiser available at network 2 has maximum CPM of 0.8. What happened is it had no, it got unsold. That impression got unsold. Now again, ad network 2, ad network 2 makes a new relationship with ad network 3. Let's assume. Okay. So he makes a new relationship. So network 2 passes it to the network 3. So the setup is made in such a way that the request got redirected. Okay.
Yes.
So this ad network 3 obviously has demand and supply. So what network 3 does is he adds
Oh,
some more commission of 1.3.
yes.
So
Now it is possible, right? Because it is around
yes,
$1.5. So it's possible. And he's saving also. The demand is saving also.
yes, correct. So on the other end, the demand side of ad network 3, the maximum value is 1.5. It is more than the whatever the supply CPM. Whatever the supply CPM, ad network 3 is willing to sell. So ad network
Yes.
3 is willing to sell at 1.3. Demand side it has 1.5. So definitely advertiser is ready to buy whatever here the impression gets sold.
Yes.
Nothing complex here. So finally impression is sold here.
Yeah.
Till here is it clear?
Yes, it's
Any
clear.
doubts?
No, nothing.
So finally, I will take a overall scenario. Publisher 1 is selling at some price. If ad network get if ad network 1 able to get a demand for this price, he will sell it. Otherwise, he will reach out to some other network and make a relationship. And here, other network also could able if they can able to fill it, the impression gets sold. Otherwise, he will make another relationship. Likewise, the chain continues, and also commission also involves in the same way. Okay, so one case, it doesn't mean that always it improves. Sometimes if none of the advertisers is available, right, and this another two did not sell to any other one, so impression get unfilled only.
Yes.
So if ad network 2 could not able to find ad network 3, or they did not set up any new ad network, did not make any relationship on the other end. So what happens, since there is no advertisers or buyers ready to buy that impressions, whatever the demand they have, so the impression gets unfilled. We say it as an unfilled impression because it's not filling in the sense putting some ad, showing some
Okay.
ad, serving some ad, unfilled. So that's the reason. So we measured in terms of unfilled and filled impressions for ad networks in this
Okay.
process.
Uh, Ram, now unsold is nothing but if we go for the products, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, Sima, give me a minute. So whatever we seen till now, with the daisy chain process, there is a advantage of selling all the unsold inventory. I agree with that. But as number of ad networks increase, number of technical setup increased in the ad network. I mean to say, in the daisy chain, when the players increases, okay, when times goes on, number of publisher increases and advertisers also increases. New players getting added into the chain. So what happens is we see problems also exist, right?
Yes, Ram.
Okay. So what are the problems we face in the net? I mean, in the daisy chain. First one is technical setup and time consuming. Okay. What are the points I shown here? This is for your understanding, and these are only few. Still, there exist another few also. I will explain it later. For now, just understand these are the main thing. Technical setup and time consuming. So what does it mean is, so every ad network has to make some technical setup in order to make connection with another one. Obviously, that every time when they connect new network, definitely they have to make a new setup, and so definitely the time consuming. Okay. Next is margins in the chain. Obviously, we have seen, right? The percentage of margin when they reach out to some other will be added. Again, it goes in that way. Okay, so margins in the chain. So every ad network takes their own margin, and likewise, the price also increases, right?
Yes.
Question of quality. Quality in the sense when the impression goes for multiple networks, so there is a chance that advertisements are also, we are not sure that whatever the advertisements that are going to serve quality one.
Okay.
What I mean to say is, if there is any Nike ad or any Tata related any ad are shown, that's fine. Okay. If some ads related to alcohol or some related one, if it is shown on your website or something, definitely it doesn't look good, right?
Bad
So,
impression. The
yeah. So it's a simply to say bad ads. If bad ads
brand
are shown,
awareness.
yeah, brand awareness.
No, sorry, brand safety.
Yes,
For
yes,
brand
correct.
safety, also the same concept is.
Exactly, exactly. Perfect. So brand safety comes into picture to avoid that. So whatever we're discussing before that part, okay, these are in early stages of ad networks.
Okay.
Okay, even now the since brand safety came into picture, so technical setups are done in such a way that brand safety is also applied, so that we are not seeing that now. But these are things which we used to face early days of online advertising. Okay, fine. So question of quality. Okay, there is a question of quality whether good ads are served or bad ads are served. So definitely when there is a multiple relationships, this is the one of the problem ad networks face. Ad networks in the sense publishers also face that. Players involved will face it. Advertisers on their end, they want to show their ads in a good quality of inventory, right? What if they show in the bad sites, if their own ad? It won't look good, right? That's the
Yes.
reason quality is on the both publishers as well as advertisers. Okay. Next is less transparency. So transparency in the sense, whatever the ads we are showing, whatever the ads that are receiving or showing something like that, we should be transparent. Which domain the ads are serving, or which kind of ads they are serving in the inventory. So there should be transparency. So since there is a multiple relationship in this case, in this daisy chain process, what happens is transparency is very less. Getting my point?
Yeah.
So what are the cost involved, how much they are charging on the other end related to price, everything is not transparent.
Yes.
Next, long ad serving time. So definitely when the setup increase, I mean chains increases, it will take some time, right? If something breaks in middle, so the impression gets unfilled. And
Yes.
so since yeah, ad serving will take long time when there is a long chain happens. So it makes a multiple request. So multiple redirects will be there. So there is a chance of having long ad serving time.
Yes.
So it affects advertisers, not only advertisers, even publishers also. Here, since we are talking about publisher end, so it also affects advertisers because they don't know like on which inventory the ads are serving. Okay, so finally the brands gets affected, the price gets affected. It is also one of the major problem here in the daisy chain
Oh,
process.
okay.
No specific content and others. No specific content in the sense the impression what advertisers are receiving. See, impression is available and it is passed on to one to another network, and that impression is coming from which kind of content that is may not be shown there, whether it's from sports page, food page, like that. Okay, simply the impression is available, you're serving the ad, but on which page you're serving exactly, on which type of content it is served, or what kind of category it belongs to, there's a more chance that this kind of information is not available in this process. Okay.
Okay.
Now, these are the major problems we face in maintain when the ad networks makes multiple relationships. So in this daisy chain process, how the ad networks are connected, how the volume and the pricing happens, we have already seen, right? So in the next session, we are going to look at the solution that came up to avoid all these kind of problems. So we shall discuss on that, and that topic is ad exchange. Okay. So I'm ending the session now. We'll be moving into the next session.